Thank you very much. But before I begin, can I get a show of hands? Who in this hall is a person living with HIV? So I see a few hands. Can everyone else here just give them a round of applause? Because for every one person who have the courage to raise their hands, there are a few hundred or even thousands of people out there who will not do it. But I'm not trying to out anybody here if they're not out themselves unwillingly. But it's just an example of the amount of fear we have here. So even at the AIDS conference, where we're supposed to feel safe and we're supposed to feel okay coming out, because people here, I would take for granted that they have already been so-called converted, or they are accepting of people with HIV and AIDS. But very few people still don't dare to come out. When I was coming out, or when I was going through the process of coming out to my friends, my family, and even volunteers who I've worked closely with over the years, many came and say, I'm very brave doing this, but actually, honestly, I'm actually still very scared, because I think we all have some fear in us. So there's this fear of something, and so what are these situations where you felt helpless, when it's the time you feel most vulnerable? So imagine at that time you have no one to talk about your fear, and at that time, and knowing this fear that will follow you through your whole life. So this constant fear has been following me even till today. When I was diagnosed a couple of years ago, the immediate thought that ran through my mind was, so how am I going to answer to my parents? And it took me a long while before I could reconcile with myself and before I could talk to my parents about it, even though they know I was working at Action for AIDS. And all these fears just keep on coming, and so like questions like, who will remain by my side? What should I do now? How long will I leave? Will I be able to complete my studies? Will companies turn me down because I'm HIV positive? And so I had this constant conversation happening repeatedly with myself, and I'm also constantly reminded by all the contradicting images represented on different medias, on TV, on print, on books I read. And I remember very dearly, I was watching Brothers and Sisters, and so there was one episode where there's a car accident, and that was when one of the characters he was living with HIV, but because it was a car accident, so that he was bleeding, and his co-driver was also bleeding as well, and he just stand there and said, "Don't touch me." Then that image and that struck home immediately, because if what happens if I'm in an accident, and what if I'm with someone who doesn't know that I'm HIV back then? I haven't told a lot of people. Am I going to just do that "don't touch me" thing? So I broke down and I just cried uncontrollably. And following closely, so I just continue to work very hard to prove to myself and to prove to others that I will not be judged just because I have HIV. Taking on more projects, taking less MCs, so I can try and break that stereotype and fear I have in my mind. It's not about other people having a stereotype of me, because it's thankfully where I worked. And I found myself having to constantly seek approval from others, so I won't be deemed as being weak or worse, as sick. I don't want to be seen or treated like a freak show. Yet by doing all this, by putting in more effort, study, work, take less MC, try not fall sick, my fears were still not fully addressed, because from time to time, I'll still witness capable people being terminated because their employers have learned of his or her own HIV status. So I'm very glad what Josephine has shared earlier on about companies who has more than willingly hire or to retain people with HIV, or have policies to protect their employees, because that's one of my pertinent fear even now. So even if I've reconciled with a lot of things, my health is fine, I will still worry that what if one day, if I leave AFA, will I be able to find a job? And during my course of work, I also learned how colleagues, I've heard stories of how colleagues ostracize people by demanding them to sit in a different clerk office or use separate utensils. So all these fears remained, because for every one good organization or boss that we have, again, there are hundreds out there who are less supportive or understanding. And so many times I felt very helpless and trapped. If you watched 48 earlier on, the documentary that we did with Royston Tan, was screened during lunch, I had to go around looking for people to come out and speak as a PRHIV, but it was a very tough job. It's been 10 years since 48 was done, and 10 years now, today, when we went out to look for people to come out, no one was willing. So the producers and I went around asking a lot of people, trying to convince them that their story needs to be heard. But then I realized that it's so tough to convince myself to come out, more than, needless to say, convincing others to come out. If I'm not ready, then how am I going to convince other people to come out? But I mean, in the end, we still have a couple of brave people who came out to lend their voices. So this only made me think harder, but I was also still getting very mixed messages, because during conferences very similar to something like that I attend, people was coming out left, right, center. There was no problem with hands raising, talking to people, introducing themselves as someone living with HIV. And it wasn't a conversation starter, nor did media pick up and try and make a story out of it, or try and sell more copies next day. So it wasn't a big deal. Yet, back home, no one was willing to come out publicly. So it's one thing to hear how accepting other cultures are, and another to actually experience it. So again, when I visited other HIV/AIDS agency in the region to learn more, I was taken aback by the openness of how everyone reacted to people living with HIV, and how safe I felt when I was there to be a PRHIV, even though I wasn't open to anybody when I went there. So it was a very mind-boggling concept that I couldn't wrap my whole head around. But at the same time, it felt like a huge weight has been lifted. So it felt very good to be there. So I saw some opportunities that what Singapore can achieve, and then there were opportunities for PRHIV to be hired, to be employed, and to be retained. It's not so much of an issue as much as it is in Singapore, and there are more opportunities to receive and access good, affordable services and treatment. PRHIV can travel in and out of the country freely. We're so hoping today someone would have announced something about the travel ban, but nothing. And people living with HIV are not judged based on their status. So I saw these possibilities of what we can become, and the benefits of such an enabling environment. And I think we have the potential. No, actually, I think we have the capacity to do it. It's no longer just thinking, but I think we should put our words and put where the money is and do it. to make things better for everyone, for people living HIV, for caregivers, for their loved ones, because coming out it's not just about me. It's about my parents, about my siblings, her friends. How is she going to be viewed? And there should be a support network for everyone down the line. I see this as a great chance to change the way we do things, see things, and how we interact with people. So let's fast forward to today, to now, in this room. I think Singapore has achieved a lot over the last few years. And to begin with, it's very comforting that SNAF is with us. And there's so many organizations that have signed up with SNAF and has pledged their support towards hiring and retaining PhD. So maybe I need not worry that much now. If I were to leave AFA, I could find a job somewhere. So I have one less worry. And seeing my friends sign the declaration, the last I checked, I think we have crossed 600 odd signatures. So that made me feel safe, and knowing I can access treatment and services that will not judge who I am. Yet, with every PRHIV who has passed on, forgotten, or systematically excluded from society, I see it as another lost opportunity and wasted chance, which could have been harnessed to stand up and fight for his or her own rights. And this is why I feel empowered to do so, and that's one of my reasons to come out as well. I hope that by me coming out, I can be a part of a change, hope to lower stigma and discrimination, hope to put a face to HIV in Singapore, and hope that fair employment policies can really be enacted. But it's quite a big thing, and I don't think can't be achieved by just one person. So everyone in this hall, you can make a difference. And it need not be a big thing. It need not be like what Mandy said, going out and riot and things like that. Because sometimes the biggest impact comes in the smallest action. And if ever someone comes up to you and tell you that he or she is someone living with HIV, don't question their past. Don't question how they got it, because these are all irrelevant. Ask instead, what can you do? And just lend them a listening ear. Take comfort in knowing that you're someone who's being trusted with something very important. And you've helped make that someone's life much easier just by being there and accepting him or her. So, thank you very much, and I hope there'll be less stigma and discrimination from time to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Avin, for speaking from your heart. Now, can I invite the four speakers next?